Hello folks, Charlie Gipple here. There was only one time in my entire 41-year life where I thought that I was going to die. I want to tell you this story because there is a link that can be had between one of the actors in this story and what it is that we do in our financial profession. Whether you're a financial advisor, an agent, or a wholesaler, there's a link here that I want to make for you, because the link is 100% undisputable. All right, so it was about 15 years ago, around 15 years ago, Omaha, Nebraska. I had just had a very long week of wholesaling the Midwest area, a bunch of broker dealers here in the Midwest. I now live in Des Moines, Iowa. At the time, I lived in Phoenix, Arizona. But anyway, in Omaha, Nebraska is where I finished my week. It was Friday morning. I had a 5:30 a.m. flight from Omaha, Nebraska to go back home to see my family, well, which was just my wife at the time, to see my wife at the time in Phoenix, Arizona, where we lived. So anyway, 5:30 a.m. was the flight. I go to the airport. I wake up at about 3:30 a.m. I woke up at 3:30 a.m. this day. I meandered through the airport halfway asleep. It was a long week. I just got done with a long dinner the night before with a broker dealer. I just want to get home. I just want to get home and take a little nap. I want to get on the airplane and take a little nap for that 2-hour period of time or whatever that the flight is to Phoenix, Arizona. So I basically sleepwalk through security. I'm at the gate. Finally, they call all the people on the airplane, at like 5 a.m. I, again, sleepwalk to the airplane, and it's Southwest Airlines. So, there's a whole lot of strategic thought that goes into finding your seats on Southwest Airlines, because it's the cow call type thing. So anyway, I find my spot over on the left-hand side, which would be, I guess, stage right, but the left-hand side as you're getting on the airplane. Right in the middle row. It was a small flight, not many people on the airplane that day, I knew, because of the amount of people that were in the terminal. So I get the middle seat there. I'm 6'6", so I want to be comfortable. So I do this strategic mental gymnastics on where I'm going to sit so that somebody isn't sitting by me. But I found a place, and I'm sitting there watching people get on thinking, okay, it's a small flight. Please don't sit by me because I want to pass out. I'm not a small person. I don't want to be cramped for 2 hours, especially if I'm going to take a nap. Anyway, I see this guy get on the airplane, and he's a frequent traveler. You could tell by the frequent travelers, right? He had everything planned out already. He's going to sit right over there, and he's got the same strategic plan as I do. It's just on the other side of the aisle. So he sits directly across the aisle from me. But anyway, so everybody else is getting on the plane, and I, start to feel a little more comfortable that somebody's not going to sit by me. So I start to lean back in the seat because I'm about ready to start my nap, right? We that have flown a lot have felt this before. So you kind of sit back in your seat, and you're kind of starting to fall asleep, and that feeling of the airplane kind of meandering about down the on the tarmac to go out to the runway. It's kind of a rocking feeling, like rocking a baby to sleep, and I can feel myself start to drift off to sleep. But then I start to feel the boosters kick on. We're on the runway, right? We're going down the runway. The boosters kick on. We're going fast, and it's that feeling that we all know about of the wheels starting to come up. That feeling right before, a split second before the wheels start to come up. What happens at that point in time? We are going fast. What happens at that point in time? You would have thought that we hit a brick wall. Boom, everything stopped. My entire world was shaking around me. The plane was rattling like it's going to fall apart. I look over there at Mr. Frequent Traveler. His eyes are as big as saucers. He looks like he thinks that he's going to die. And when a frequent traveler looks that way, as I know that I did, you really start to question if you're going to die. I look up at the flight attendants sitting on their chair, in front of the captain. It looks like they are scared to death as well. And when a flight attendant is scared to death, you know that you should be scared to death as well. But anyway, our entire world is rocking around us. The plane is screeching down the runway. I'm looking out the window because I know that Omaha, Nebraska does not have a long runway. We have to be coming to the end of the runway. And what is on the other side of that runway? Are we going to die right there? And what the heck did we just hit? Finally, probably 3 seconds into it, but it felt like minutes and minutes and minutes. All this comes to an end. Everything slowed down, and we finally got towards the end of the runway, and we were safe. Everything slowed down, but our hearts beating. The flight attendants were practically crying, right? What happens at that point in time? Well, this is where the pilot comes on. He comes on over the loudspeakers, and what does the pilot say? The pilot says this: all right, folks, well, sorry about that little inconvenience there and that slight discomfort on our attempted takeoff there. Know that our mission is to get you home safe and sound, and we will certainly do that. We just had some codes triggered in the system as we were running down the runway that the right engine had failed and the left engine, it's a 737, right? The right engine had failed and the left engine was about ready to fail. So we felt it was important that we abort our takeoff. But anyway, rest assured we're going to get you home safe and sound today, and we'll make our way back to the runway. And so very sorry for the inconvenience. We want to make sure you go home to your families and have a good weekend. How did I feel at that point in time after that pilot just took 30 seconds to communicate with us? Granted, I know that that pilot is paid to be very stoic. These pilots are infallible, right? I mean, amazing. Even though I know that that pilot is paid to make us all feel comfortable, even if that pilot knew that he was going to die, how powerful were those words that that pilot said to us? And this is not an exaggerative story. This happened. Any friends of mine know that I have told this story a million times. This is 100% fact here. How did I feel after that 30 seconds or so that that pilot, whether it was false comfort that he was trying to give us or whatever, I felt pretty darn good. My entire world had changed to where I no longer thought that I was going to die. Now I felt that, you know what, we're going to get out of this. And heck, I'm just thankful to be alive. I'm going to go back into the terminal and I'm going to celebrate. I'm going to have a muffin and some, cheap orange juice to celebrate the fact that I'm still alive, right? We made our way back to the terminal, and the flight attendants were still shaken up. I get off the terminal and I call my friend who at the time was an Alaska Airlines pilot, and he said, well, I have a buddy who could look up in the system to see what happened, see how tragic this experience was for you, Charlie. He says probably just an aborted takeoff is all, which it's not that bad. So I said, yeah, please, Byron, look into this and then give me a call back. He gave me a call back and he said, yeah, that was a big deal. That was a really big deal. That was a rare deal. You guys were going the speed. I think it's called V1. I know nothing about aviation, but it was past the point effectively of no return to where everything is up in the air if one aborts the takeoff at that point in time. But because of the codes in the system, they were so severe, so catastrophic, that we had to abort the takeoff, and that could have been very bad things for me. And by the way, he said, you're not getting out of Omaha, at least on that plane today, because the brakes are fried. Everything is fried down there. That plane is not going to fly today because it was basically complete lockup in order for that plane to stop the way that that plane stopped. Think about this. You as financial advisors, or you as wholesalers that work with financial advisors, that work with clients that today are so concerned about their money, a lot like 2008, 2009, although not that extreme yet, and heaven forbid it gets that extreme. Are you staying in contact with your consumers if you're a financial advisor? Study after study after study. Why don't you Google, why do clients fire financial advisors? And the top 3 reasons have something to do with communication. The first one is the first reason, something like my advisor doesn't communicate with me enough. Another reason is my advisor does not answer the phone enough. He or she does not answer the phone fast enough, rather. Another one is, I want to say it has to do with communication. He or she does not communicate what their strategy is or what their plan is enough to me. It all has to do with communication. And the fact that we are down, 10%, 11% as of this morning, the Dow Jones from its peak in September, these consumers are feeling antsy, right? And be that pilot that calls out to those consumers. Again, whether you're an agent or an advisor working with a client, or whether you're a wholesaler working with the agents that are also feeling antsy. If you do index annuities or index life, call out to your consumers anyway and say, hey, just so you know, man, you're seeing all this stuff on the news about tariffs, you're seeing all this stuff on the news about the government shutdown, and as a result, you have market volatility that we haven't seen really since like 2009, 2010. Just know that your money is safe. Just know that I, the pilot, am still in control here, and everything will be fine.